Alright, hello everyone. Uh, really got crap for intros, and sorry if you can hear my sister through the wall. But anyways, this will be my first VOD review that I'll be doing for Siege. Just gonna be watching over my friend's game here, Remix. So if you want to check him out on Twitch, go ahead. But anyways, let's get right into it.
Do a Java. You never did everybody going, never did it up and the top of the going, rain down, right down.
See, you're quite a soloist there. Honestly, I don't mind the music, it's just sometimes for me, especially, it blocks out sound that I could potentially be hearing, like just listening for noises. And I know it's the drone phase, so it doesn't really matter, but it helps to have the noise anyways, in my opinion.
What an idiot. Blood in my veins, whoa.
So as a little side note, when you are running around with Blackbeard's DMR, you actually run faster with your pistol out instead. Like, even if you don't have the shield on, you still run faster with your pistol, and the same goes for everyone else. Yeah, you run faster with your pistol, so from getting from point A to point B would have been faster just to hold your pistol out instead. So, main thing here, you got blasted by the Echo drone. Okay. Echo is now dead, so it doesn't necessarily matter. You're not going to get echoed again. But the thing with Echo's stun is that when you get stunned, if you don't move, it wears off much faster and is much less effective than if you move around constantly. And here on this window, you don't need to move. You just watch it from an angle. You really don't have to move unless if you see someone move inside that window or that room, in which case you go, oh hey, I need to move a little just to be able to see them, which is reasonable considering that, oh, it'll be a kill and it's a 5v1, so it even makes even more sense. So just don't move around when you are echoed if you don't have to. Like, especially if you don't have to.
Really kind of figure out where they fit into fighting games so that they can contribute to this overall community.
Yeah, the community, I would not say, dropped off after the arcade scene fell apart, Instead, everyone just really came together. So there's a really strong sense of camaraderie here in NorCal.
Oh, okay. I didn't know what they were talking about for a second. just kind of confused me. If I'm being honest.
Barricade the room. We need to protect the biohazard container.
Okay, so one thing I have to point out. You don't have advanced deployment on. With gadgets, if you have advanced deployment, you can cancel placement at any time, which is super useful, especially when you're using something like a Mira. Someone's like, wait, don't put it there, because they have a better spot or something. Or you have your bandit charge and someone's thermiting, excuse me, and you're in mid-placement, you're like, oh wait, I need to move because you weren't fast enough to bandit trick or something like that. Then you would be able to pull off and then run away, which is the nice thing about advanced deployment. So just something I would highly, highly recommend.
Reinforcing the wall! Barbed wire set. Activate the device.
10 seconds left.
So as you just saw with that mute charge, what happens is if you place an electrified barbed wire, it's going to destroy it, so just avoid destroying friendly gadgets if you can. Same goes for Jaegers on reinforced walls. If you electrify those, gone. If the mute is close enough, gone. So just be wary of that. Try not to destroy friendly utility because it's very useful.
Down to 5 seconds.
And the bombs
Biohazard
and the
container
guns
location
and
unknown.
it
Secure.
your head, in your head.
And maybe take some singing lessons while you're at it. Just a little suggestion. So it's not unheard of, but an interesting choice to play in Geisha, or around this area, especially near Disco NT, because what you're doing over here is, at most, you can... I mean, technically it would make more sense now that I think about it. If they do push from the west side of objective, then yes, you have quite an advantage. But if they're only pushing the east side of objective, you don't have much of a sight line. So let me swap over. So over here, we have a beautiful little thing called drawing. So in essence, you're over here. You have the section that's the window right here, and you have another doorway that's right here. And if you're bandit, you can be like, oh hey, I'm just gonna peek out this window and see whoever is out in this open area. Let me fix that. Out in the open area around here. So you, as bandit, have a sight line, if you jump out even, to seeing people who are all the way over here, over there, and you can see past towards these windows over here, because those windows typically have people who are repelling, trying to look over there, especially Blackbeard. Blackbeard likes to play on this window a lot specifically, because it's quite a choke point for people who are inside. So just, this is definitely a good flank, I would say, as long as you stay hidden. If you're found out, people aren't gonna play over here because they know, oh hey, there's a bandit over there, I'm just gonna get flanked. Or if they're even smarter, they'll just totally bait you and be like, oh yeah, I'm totally going this way, psych, and they're gonna turn around when they hear you push out. So just, as long as you're a stealthy boy, then you are good to go with this flank, I have to say. Alright, first drawing. So, let me coming back. Meep, meep. I've yet to refine this, so it's a little bit not so fluid, but it works. If it works, it works. Anyways. Okay, so definitely maintaining the stealthy part of this. I agree, but just lost a teammate. Okay. Okay, you definitely understand that you need to stay safe and undetected, which is good. Very good part of roaming, especially in general. So here, a lot of your team is dying, and you have 2 anchors left. Mute, I don't even... Oh wait, he's on site, never mind. So you have 2 anchors left, and there's 4 attackers. Unless if you're able to figure out that, hey, there's 2 or even 1 person outside in the open area, the dragon area that I mentioned, which is where that open area is with the soft wall. If you can find 1 or 2 picks there, then okay, this roam was effective. But if you can't, you would need to rotate immediately back to site in order to help, or at least do a close to site flank. So sort of like a passive roamer in a way. I just dropped my fancy that pen. Okay. So yeah, just be careful of staying away from the site for too long, because otherwise, since this is a secure area, they'll just take the objective and you won't be able to do anything about it, or you won't be able to until the last second. So yeah, just be careful with the way you're roaming.
Op 4 has found the biohazard container.
So now you're down to 1. You're down to 1 anchor, which okay. Now you're starting to rotate back to site, which is a smart move, but you're more than likely going to lose this round because 2v4, you have 1 anchor, 1 person off site, being you, unless if you're able to pull off a 1v4 clutch, which is most likely, you might lose this round. A little bit jittery, but I guess I'll allow it. Just work on mechanical skill a little bit. Okay, now it's down to a 1v3, so obviously now you need to make sure, now that your presence is known, you're kind of screwed. You can rotate to your left, down into open area towards lobby, but that might be too long of a rotation, so you have to decide in the moment what would be the best option, considering it's a 1v3 and people know where you are. And the Hibana obviously knew you were there, so peeked to you and managed to get the kill on you. So that was partly on your anchors not doing good enough of a job, but also partly on you for not being able to get any picks as the roamer. Until the very end, which it didn't matter by then.
Hey, what is my ash using? She's not using a...
So you just had it, you were right there, but then you changed to hollow. Now I get sights or preference, but as an attacker, one with the ability to choose an ACOG, one that is a 3-speed, it is much more advantageous to use an ACOG. Now, if you really despise ACOGs, then okay, I can see the holo working. But just be wary of not having that very long range like some makers do, like Maestro and Rook and Echo, etc. So just, you're kind of putting yourself at a disadvantage by using a holo instead of an ACOG. So just something to consider as well. Highly suggest.
I did not hit full screen.
Okay, so by now you definitely know they're in office. And it looks like they got a mirror too. I love the good old mirror troll. I'll have to sit on them too. Sadly it didn't work.
5 seconds.
And that kind of also with another message. Wasting your drones, and I get this is casual, but wasting your drones isn't something you want to do by any means. Drones are very effective. They just have like a hidden effectiveness to them. Basically, if you can master the drone, you can perform really well comparatively. It's just a matter of figuring out, oh hey, the drone would be really useful in this situation, or things of that nature. So just try not to waste your drones. Now, if you're memeing around, okay, yeah, whatever. But in more serious play, you want to conserve your drones as much as possible. If you, and I assume you guys, or you, Remy, have seen me play, so I like to use my drones a lot, especially when I know, or don't know, is there an enemy in there? What should I push? Because I'm not going to risk an unnecessary death. Or I want to be able to secure a pick, because I know, hey, they're low, and they're right around that corner, so I can just pre-fire. So just kind of a general lesson, don't waste your drones. Especially when you know you can help it. So just don't waste your drones.
Clear to engage.
Default cam. Default cam. Bing bing default cam. I think one of your teammates found it, but default cam, please.
Hey, there's barricades up here. They're up here.
So definitely a smart choice to hold this angle, because someone can easily run out. So smart that you're holding this angle, definitely. I would definitely agree with that.
Dude, you just passed it. Toxic.
I know, son.
Yeah, good old casual, I guess.
Torch me a hole.
Now, being a bit demanding as a teammate isn't necessarily the best thing to do. And I know this is kind of just, oh, don't be a dick philosophy, but in all seriousness, people don't like to be yelled at unless if they know you're a coach or something, or you're the team captain or something along those lines. People don't like to be yelled at. So if you can suggest like, hey, could you burn a hole in this wall, it would really help. Because I can play on it. Like, give explanations as to why you want them to help you, and they may be more inclined to. Now, if they're just a dick, well, that kind of sucks, because now they're not going to be able to provide any utility to the team, generally speaking. Now, maybe they can. Maybe they're good. It's just they don't want to help. they don't want to help the team as a whole, but they can carry it. So, in that case, you kind of just let them do their thing. But in other cases, just try not to be a dick, and people will likely help you out. So just don't be too demanding, but softly suggest what you want instead.
Location.
The fuck?
Knocked her.
So one major thing out of that encounter, excuse me, that runout could have been very easily avoided had you, instead of looking at the Maverick hull, which was clearly way too low and unusable, you could have been watching to make sure your Maverick doesn't die all of a sudden. So just something, a reset that could have been avoided instead. And it would have been resulted in a free kill as well. Relatively free, at least.
Trying to push out on us.
So obviously you can't shoot through the Mira, and I guess that was just recoil control on your part, but it was smart that you noticed, hey, there's an enemy on the Mira, so you shot kind of under it, but then recoil happened, so just be careful about that.
One friendly
Kavanaugh.
operator remaining.
So your teammate just told you, hey, Cav is on, or was on him at least. So what you want to do with this information is either prepare for a run out or watch that Mira and that doorway next to you exclusively. Now, if you want to watch the Mira and the doorway, you would more than likely want to do it outside because the Cav might be afraid that you're going to push. But if she isn't and she's slightly smarter, she'll wait for you to push into the objective and then push you. So you just want to be careful about what choice you make. Now, if you wait for the run out, there's the possibility that she could run back into the objective or run out on you. So just, it's more beneficial in this case, I would think at least, to look into the room and make sure that Cav isn't going to make some random push back into the objective despite you being on that angle. So let's see what you do, I guess. So had you been watching that window, what you would have been able to do is just get the easy kill onto Cav because she's in that doorway now, as you see. So I guess now you may as well commit to the push, but be careful about it. Now this is where a drone would be useful, as I mentioned. You do have one in your pocket, so that's fine. Excuse me. But you don't use it. And you have 2 minutes on the clock. Like, you have 2 minutes still, which is a lot of time in Siege. That's 2/3 of a ranked game, or a ranked round. So you could have played this much more cautiously instead of just ramboing towards the cap, which may pay off, but it could result in you losing the round, so just something to consider.
She moved.
And now at this point, Cav has the Mira, which is where she's more than likely going to be looking to see when you're going to push. Because as long as she has that Mira, you're going to be the easiest target in the world for her to hit. Now, if you rotate back around, she's more than likely going to have a little bit more trouble trying to kill you, but she will know that you're exclusively at that window, which may be a problem. So you kind of set yourself up for potential failure. Now, you can bring this back, don't get me wrong. It's just, you're more than likely not going to be able to bring this back, based on based on pushing here instead of waiting on that window patiently, which would have potentially resulted in a free kill assuming you're able to aim, which I imagine you can. So we'll see how this plays out. Hold on. Let's see that again. Never mind, that wasn't Cav. I thought I saw a direct shot of Cav.
Or do the opposite of that when she's on the other side of the map.
Okay. So, one thing about this. Cav was playing very stupidly in this case. Now, I'm obviously not here to critique her, so to this I would say good job to you because you noticed, I assume took a sound cue that, oh, Cav's over there. So, or you just guessed, in which case, whatever. But you were able to figure out, oh, Cav is over there. So, smart. Smart in that you were able to figure out where she was. So I'm gonna actually turn up the volume here and listen. So you definitely do hear her fidgeting around. So smart in playing into the sound. So I'm glad that the music got turned off, because otherwise you may not have been able to hear that, which would have caused you, more than likely caused you to lose the round. So, well played on your part.
Yeah, thanks.
Wait, and did she have a shotgun? I'm surprised she didn't blast you away. I might just be blind and a half, because I honestly can't tell. She did have a shotgun. How did she miss? Oh.
Yeah, thanks for your
Nevertheless, you figured out good game sense in that, or sound cues in that case. So well played.
Still would have won faster if you'd have just sat on the deck.
That guy does make a fair point. If you had been on the objective and stayed on that Mira, you would have had an easy kill onto Cav. Which, nevertheless, you won, but yeah, faster win. More than likely, at least. But yes, well done. Well done either way.
Oh, when you last life, you can do what you want.
We need to protect the biohazard container. Secure the room. Op 4 located the biohazard container.
So I don't know if you're intentionally doing this, but you're not fully putting on the EDDs. And you're kind of running around like a headless chicken. So have decisiveness in where you're putting your EDDs. And if you're putting it somewhere, just be like, okay, this will be fine. But if it really isn't going to be effective somehow, then okay, you can stop mid-placement. But it, how do I put it? It just, this indecisiveness is not the best thing to have, per se. And it kills your preparation phase time, and you're already down 20 seconds. And you've done 20 seconds of nothing. So just attain this decisiveness if you can. It would be much more helpful to your gameplay.
Down to 10 seconds. Down to 5 seconds.
I have to agree, drones are a little pesky. And that exact thing, as you just saw, you went right side. Let's not do that. Left side. Let's not do that. Right side. So, and we're already to the action phase. So, this entire time you've only put down 2 EDDs, which is a major waste of time. Unless no, it's just a major waste of time. You haven't done much. Nor have you set up reinforcements in Geisha. So just an ineffective use of preparation phase time.
The biohazard container.
Sensor activated.
Okay, I'm glad that you're having a decisiveness with your EDDs. Another thing, you have both of your reinforcements, which is big issue. Big issue. You want to make sure you use your reinforcements at all times, because otherwise, obviously they're not used, which is a major deficit towards your team, because they could be used in places where they're effective, obviously. And that could potentially deter an entire attack from being able to work out. Especially now that you know they have a buck. It would have prevented some potential angles, or at least it can, depending on how the buck plays. Now this flank kind of works the same way that it did in your first defense. Excuse me. As in, with your, let me rewind a second. Right where you were just looking over in this side. So in this area, on that wall, if you open it up with your impact mates, which you have as Capcan now, if you open up that sight line, let me go back to drawing. So over here, if you open up that sight line, which is right about here, that wall, you have access to seeing this entire area of people and into the area where people are more than likely going to be pushing in this direction towards the site. So if you're a Capcan here, you're thinking, oh, I'll just impact the hull, and then people won't be able to react fast enough, so you get to pew onto them and then they die, which proves yourself to be an effective flanker. But again, this relies on stealth. And if you're not able to be stealthy, well, that kind of just eats at your ability to be effective with your rank. With your flank. So just maintaining stealthiness, impacting right here, assuming there are people outside, you're able to get a good amount of effectiveness out of this. Now, if people aren't pushing this area and you're not able to get any picks after impacting because they know and they look that way, well then it becomes a very ineffective roam and you need to come back to site downstairs or upstairs immediately, because otherwise they'll just converge onto you and then you'll be a dead Capcan, which is not good. So, something to consider about this flank as well. Back to good. Okay, so Fuse clearly knows you're here, and now you know they have a Fuse, which is something you can relay to your team in something like Ranked. So Fuse knows where you are now. Objective number 1, GTFO. Because if that Fuse knows where you are, your roam becomes ineffective, because now your team, or more than likely the enemy team, knows, oh, there's a Kapkan over here, we need to take him out, we need to sandwich him and kill him. So that just effectively nullifies your roaming, and you either need to pick a different roaming spot, which could be under the site on the open area section, or B, you can just go back to site. And both options are effective in this case, but potentially going back to under the site can be effective because you have visuals under the site, because you have 2 impact grenades still, which is conserving your utility, which can be effective. And having that utility to use under the site is what will allow you to, how do I put it? What will allow you to clutch rounds in some cases. Now, playing a pulse under the site is especially effective because you know exactly when people are pushing onto the site. And with Kapkan, it's almost the same thing. If you impact a certain area, you'll know if people are pushing under that impact, and you'll be able to get a free kill. So that's your course of action now that a Fuse knows where you are. So I've noticed this throughout most of the VOD, and maybe it's just a habit, but you're walking around ADS. Now, if you're planning on going somewhere, you shouldn't be ADS because A, you walk slower, B, your field of vision is reduced, especially with this scope, and overall it's just less effective than it would be if you were to alt walk or even run around, depending on the situation. So just, again, something to consider as well. Okay, so here, excuse me, I don't know what that was for. The angle that you're watching right now on that window, you're not providing much support for your team at all. Because what happens is that no one's going to push that window realistically. That window is a near-death sentence because A, someone's going to be up here and they'll hear it, they're like, oh, someone breaking the window. And it's such an uncommon spot that when people are able to so easily notice it that they can immediately react to it and just get a free kill if you try to use that window. So not an effective angle, I would say. I would even go back to the connector that you were just in and watch the dragon area, or at least break down the window fully so that people have a reason to look over there, and effectively it wastes their time, which would allow you to provide more utility for your team. So I should full screen what am I doing?
Help!
You just saw legs right there. Now that would have been a very easy option to light them up, and potentially get an injure or a kill, or at least do quite a bit of damage. Now that looked like Fuse's feet or legs, so just again something that you should reactively do. So if you see legs, it doesn't matter in that case, you just want to aim to where they are and you could potentially get that free kill. So something I would train yourself to do.
Prevent further access to stop the hostiles from securing the container. Protect the biohazard container. Op 4 is securing the biohazard container. One friendly operator remaining.
So that's just a bit of potato, which I can kind of understand. But the impact here may not be enough to kill the Habana, which would be your main issue. So this looks like a failing round from this viewpoint. Now I guess you did Pokeball them, which was a little bit luck and a little bit they could have done something different, but nevertheless you got the kill, so well done. So you managed to get 2 kills, okay. And apparently Habana's a little mad or something like that. Anyways, so you do manage to get the kill on the Ash, but have you stopped the securing? You have not stopped the securing. There is someone else still in there, so you have to rush onto site, otherwise you're going to lose the round automatically. So here this kind of shows that it's a losing round, despite you getting 2 kills, which is impressive in of itself. You may still lose this anyways.
Please, Daddy.
It is unfortunate. I guess you didn't notice that it was still being secured, so you didn't hop on. So just... And this is personally why I don't like secure area, and this is just a me thing, going off on a tangent, but secure area, it's not the most competitive game mode, so just something to consider. I personally play on bomb only, because A, that's what professionals play, and B, it's more competitive, so something to consider for your matchmaking options.
Oh, fuck.
Secured the biohazard container.
So you definitely realized it, which is understandable.
Mission failed.
That was a nice try. I didn't think it goes by that fast. My bad.
So spending half of the, or more like 15 seconds of the prep phase just hunting a drone, not an effective use of your time, especially when you are Kakin and you have multiple EDDs to set up. So not a good use of your time. Just the main thing.
10 seconds to insertion. 5 seconds. Op 4 located the biohazard container. Protect the biohazard container at all costs.
Doorway, trap. Stay clear of blast zone. Repellent hostiles are in for a surprise.
So here you're holding on to an EDD, which is something you never want to do. You always want to make sure all of your utility is used on an operator like Captain, because once it's set up, your job is done. Assuming they're in good spots, there's no reason that you need to set up, or you don't have to play differently. But because you're still holding on to one, you are less effective as an operator, which is obviously something you don't want for your team. Because less effective, less likely to win, which is something you don't want. So just make sure you're placing all of your utility. Yeah, at least you noticed, but it took you a long time to realize, hey, a person's on that window. So that window specifically, this angle I like, but it took you so long to realize, oh, that's a person. So just acquisition, and I guess that's partly just training yourself, but realizing those things is a key. It's a key portion of Siege, and being able to play at higher ranks. So, main thing here, you heard that the Hibana was going off. Now I want you to ask, that Monty, you hit him once, okay. Now, obviously you know the rest of the team comp, that's just something else though. But that Hibana was setting up her breach charges. I want you to ask, should you, or I don't want you to ask, I want you to, you have two options here. So I am going to go to my picture for a moment. So, you have the objective here. And you are here, Capcan. You have a Montaigne playing on this window right here, which is open. And there's the doorway there, but that part's irrelevant. So, I want you to ask, with the Hibana here, that's just a bar, or that's the bar. So with the Hibana breaching somewhere along this wall, with the desk being right there, and the hatch right there. So with Hibana breaching somewhere, over here, should you, let me just, make sure, yeah, we're good. Should you, peek into here, keeping an eye slightly on that Montaigne, and looking for where they're breaching, and counter-peeking that Hibana, which is more than likely somewhere along this area, and potentially get the kill onto them. Or B, should you rotate around and go for the peek onto the Hibana, which could potentially have more teammates around to protect and watch the counterflank, or watch the flank. So A or B, which do you think is more effective? Give you a couple seconds to pause. Okay. So in this case, B would honestly be the more effective option, because if you were to choose A, you're looking this way. Yeah, you're keeping an eye on Monty, but if you even lose track of him for a second, if he is smart enough, he'll unshield and go for the shots onto you, which will distract you and force you to push back. But then you realize, as you're pushing back, Hibana is just going to counter-peek you, and that'll cause a dead Capcan, which is not a good Capcan. So, in this case, option B, flanking around, assuming you're able to break this, or this doorway was already broken, you'll be able to semi-stealthily, assuming you maybe alt walk out, you'll be able to get the kill onto these people effectively, or you'll more than likely be able to get these kills, at least 1 or 2, maybe 3 if you're good enough. Now if you get all 3 of these kills, in this case it's a 3v4 now, so you'd be able to just go out and challenge the Monty because he can't pose much of a threat outside. Now, granted he can, it's just not as obvious with someone like a Zosha, Hibana, or Buck. So, option B in this case would be the correct. A would not be. A would not be, yeah, that totally makes sense. Anyways, let's continue back to the to the show. So, this was partially aiming and whatnot, so I do like that you were kind of considering option B in this case, but you were just watching instead. Now, Zosha was clearing out flankers, which was good on her part, which caused you to die, which effectively lended you to be less helpful for your team, which inevitably, I believe, causes you to lose, sadly. Yeah. But nevertheless, a good attempt. You were kind of stuck in bad positioning, which ultimately led to you losing, which is unfortunate, but it happens. So, in summary, work on mechanical skill, drone management, effective usage of preparation phase time, and realizing when situations are more beneficial than others. So, overall, for your rank or for how I've seen you play and for this being casual, you did alright. Now, if you flash the scoreboard at some point, I would like to see that.
Op 4 is securing the biohazard container.
And to be honest, she kind of did, so
One
I agree
friendly
with
remaining.
that. Nevertheless.
All friendly.
So let's see here. You can flash it for a moment. Okay, so you went 6-2, which you did better than your teammates in terms of deaths, and slightly better than your Cav in this case. So well done. Definitely carried your weight, to say the least. But in some cases, you weren't able to, effectively identify what was more beneficial and what wasn't. So again, just focus on those things I mentioned earlier, or a few moments ago. But anyways, well done to you, and I guess that will conclude my first VOD review. So I will see you and whoever else is watching next time.